When we hear the word sacrifice, most people imagine suffering, loss, or giving up something valuable. But look closely. Is sacrifice really about loss, or is it about vision? If you want fruit from a tree, you do not pluck the seed and eat it. You bury it in the soil. The seed must disappear for the tree to come. This disappearance is what we call sacrifice. Without it, there is no tree, no shade, no fruit, no fragrance. Every generation that has lived before us has sacrificed something, so we could breathe a freer air, walk safer streets, and live with greater opportunities. The question is not whether sacrifice is necessary. The question is, what will you choose to sacrifice for what kind of tomorrow? If you sacrifice your health for small pleasures today, tomorrow you inherit disease. If you sacrifice honesty for convenience today, tomorrow you inherit distrust. But if you sacrifice laziness for discipline, tomorrow you inherit growth. If you sacrifice distraction for focus, tomorrow you inherit mastery. Sacrifice is not denial, it is an investment. Think of a farmer. When he wakes before dawn, when he bends his back in the hot sun, it may look like hardship. But months later, his sacrifice turns into golden harvest. The same law governs everything in life. You and I have limited time here. Every moment is an exchange. You are always sacrificing something. Your time, your energy, your attention. The only choice you have is whether you sacrifice it towards the trivial or towards the timeless. So, ask yourself, do I want comfort now or strength tomorrow? Do I want distraction now or wisdom tomorrow? Do I want ease now or excellence tomorrow? Sacrifice today for a better tomorrow is not just a slogan. It is a reminder that tomorrow is born out of today. The seed you plant, the discipline you choose, the habits you nurture, the dreams you commit to, they will rise as the life you live. So, let your sacrifices be conscious, not accidental. Let them be for something larger than yourself. Because one day, when you look back, you should not see suffering. You should see the beautiful tree that grew because you had the courage to plant the seed. Sacrifice is not loss, it is investment in the future. Yet the very word sacrifice creates resistance in most minds because it sounds like giving up something valuable, something pleasurable, or something that is part of our comfort. But if you look deeper, every meaningful achievement, every act of greatness, every moment of transformation that has ever happened in human history was born because someone understood that letting go of something in the present could bring forth a larger reality in the future. When you save a portion of your earnings instead of spending it all today, you are sacrificing momentary pleasure for financial stability tomorrow. When you spend hours in study instead of indulgence, you are sacrificing ease for knowledge and opportunity in the days ahead. The principle is universal. What feels like sacrifice now is simply a conscious choice to plant seeds for a harvest that will come later. If we observe life closely, we will see that sacrifice is woven into the very fabric of nature. A seed, if it clings to its form, will never become a tree. It must dissolve, it must lose its shape, it must break open in the dark soil. To the seed, it may look like death, but in truth, it is an investment in becoming something much larger, stronger, and fruitful. If sacrifice were truly loss, nature would not have designed it as the foundation for all growth. A caterpillar loses its very identity to become a butterfly. Water evaporates into the air, unseen, only to return as nourishing rain. Everywhere we look, life itself whispers that what looks like giving up is often transformation, and what seems like loss is in fact the pathway to abundance. In human life, the same principle operates in countless ways. Think of someone who trains their body, the early mornings, the sweat, the aching muscles. None of these look glamorous in the moment. To an outside observer, it may seem like suffering or even unnecessary hardship. But the person who makes this investment in their body will know the strength, vitality, and freedom it brings later. The price paid today becomes the treasure tomorrow. And so, sacrifice is not about denying yourself. It is about choosing consciously what you will invest in, what you will give your energy and time to, what you will place into the soil of tomorrow. The reason so many people resist sacrifice is because they confuse it with loss. Loss is when something is taken from you without your choice, without purpose. Sacrifice, on the other hand, is when you willingly let go of something because you know it will create something greater. The difference is awareness. If you give up your health in the pursuit of unhealthy habits, that is not sacrifice, it is ignorance. But if you give up those same habits to preserve and nurture your body, that is sacrifice, and it will pay you back with a life of energy and strength. One creates regret, the other creates reward. Life is always demanding something from us. Every day, every hour, you are already sacrificing something. If you are scrolling endlessly on your phone, you are sacrificing your focus. If you are indulging in laziness, you are sacrificing opportunity. If you are lost in anger or resentment, you are sacrificing your peace. The question is not whether you will sacrifice. It is what you will sacrifice. If you do not make this choice consciously, the world will choose for you, and you may not like the price. To see sacrifice as an investment is to take ownership of that choice. It is to say, I will give this moment, this effort, this discipline, not because I am losing, but because I am sowing into a tomorrow that matters. Look at those who have achieved greatness, not in the shallow sense of fame, but in the deeper sense of fulfillment. You will always find that behind the stage lights, behind the recognition, there were countless unseen sacrifices. An artist spends years practicing in obscurity, sacrificing ease to master their craft. A scientist spends long nights bent over experiments, sacrificing comfort for discovery. A parent sacrifices sleep, time, and personal desires to raise a child who can stand strong in the world. These sacrifices do not diminish their lives. They expand them. They create futures that would otherwise be impossible. Even in relationships, sacrifice is the true currency of love. To listen when you would rather speak, to forgive when holding on feels easier, to support when it demands effort. These small sacrifices build trust, intimacy, and depth. Without them, relationships wither. With them, they blossom into something beautiful that enriches both lives. Here, too, sacrifice is not loss. It is the investment that keeps the bond alive. When we expand this understanding to society as a whole, the power of sacrifice becomes even clearer. Every freedom we enjoy today is because someone before us sacrificed their comfort, their time, and sometimes even their life. They did not see it as loss, but as contribution to something larger than themselves. That spirit of investment in the future is what sustains civilizations. Without it, societies collapse into self-indulgence and decay. With it, they rise to heights where future generations thrive. Sacrifice also teaches us perspective. It trains the mind to look beyond the immediate and the trivial. It cultivates patience, resilience, and vision. When you understand that sacrifice is investment, you stop chasing fleeting pleasures and begin to build lasting fulfillment. You stop asking, what do I lose if I give this up? And start asking, what do I gain by planting this seed? This shift in perception changes everything, because suddenly sacrifice becomes empowering rather than burdensome. This is the essence of wisdom, knowing what to hold on to and what to let go of, knowing what to consume today and what to save for tomorrow, knowing that every choice carries a consequence that shapes the future. To see sacrifice as loss is to live blind to this truth. To see it as investment is to walk with clarity, strength, and purpose. It is not about suffering, it is about sowing. It is not about denial, it is about creation. It is not about losing. It is about preparing the ground for something that will grow beyond what you can see today. What you give up today shapes the quality of your tomorrow. Every action you take, every choice you make is a kind of trade. You are constantly exchanging your present time, your present energy, your present attention for something that will unfold later. Sometimes this exchange is unconscious, and sometimes it is deliberate. But the truth remains, the sacrifices and priorities of this moment are the architects of the life you will inherit in the future. Nothing comes out of nowhere. The future is not a mystery waiting to surprise you. It is a mirror reflecting what you are choosing to give or hold on to today. If a person spends every day indulging in distractions, they may feel entertained in the moment, but they are also shaping a tomorrow filled with shallow skills, wasted opportunities, and a restless mind. On the other hand, if a person chooses to give up that same distraction for the sake of learning, discipline, or building something meaningful, their tomorrow becomes a landscape of possibility. The difference between these two lives is not luck or fate. It is simply the accumulation of what was given up or embraced in the present moment. What you surrender now is not gone, it is transformed into the substance of the life ahead. Consider health as an example. If you give up discipline in food and rest, your tomorrow will inherit disease and weakness. But if you give up the fleeting pleasure of unhealthy indulgence today, your tomorrow receives vitality and strength. The taste of sugar, the comfort of laziness, these are temporary delights that extract a heavy cost later. To let them go now is to write a future where your body serves you rather than burdens you. The body you live in tomorrow is being sculpted by the choices you are making in this moment, and those choices are often about what you are willing to sacrifice. The same principle applies to relationships. If you give up patience today, tomorrow you inherit conflict. If you give up understanding, tomorrow you inherit distance. But if you give up your pride and ego in moments of tension, tomorrow you inherit trust, love, and closeness. Relationships do not collapse in one dramatic instant. They are shaped day by day by what we are willing to let go of and what we choose to hold on to. A simple sacrifice of time to truly listen, a small act of kindness instead of self-centeredness, these are not just gestures for the present. They are seeds for the bond that grows tomorrow. In work and purpose, the law is no different. If you give up discipline, tomorrow your dreams remain as empty wishes. If you give up perseverance, tomorrow you stand with regret at opportunities lost. But if you give up comfort, excuses, and the desire for immediate gratification, tomorrow you inherit mastery and achievement. Every hour you invest today in sharpening your skill, in deepening your knowledge, in staying committed to what matters, that hour does not vanish. It gathers strength and weight and returns as the life you will live in days to come. There is a hidden clarity in recognizing that tomorrow is shaped by today's choices. It means life is not an accident. It is not random. You are not a victim of chance. Instead, you are constantly sculpting your own future with invisible hands made of your decisions. What you refuse now, what you embrace now, what you let go of now, all of it is silently constructing the house you will walk into tomorrow. To ignore this is to live blind, believing that tomorrow will somehow be better by luck. To understand it is to live awake, realizing that tomorrow will be better because you are consciously choosing to sacrifice wisely today. Even the smallest sacrifices carry weight. Giving up a few minutes of idle gossip for silence can shape a tomorrow where your mind is calmer. Giving up 1 hour of sleep for study can shape a tomorrow where your career opens wider doors. Giving up the impulse to react in anger can shape a tomorrow where your relationships are gentler. These small sacrifices seem insignificant in the moment, but compounded over time, they build tomorrows that are worlds apart from those shaped by negligence or indulgence. History itself is testimony to this truth. Societies that sacrificed short-term comfort for long-term vision built civilizations that lasted. Those that refused to sacrifice, that demanded immediate pleasure and ease, crumbled under their own weight. The same principle that governs nations governs individuals. If you want a life that stands strong, if you want a tomorrow that is richer, you must ask yourself every day, what am I willing to give up right now? The answer to that question is the blueprint of your future. The discomfort of sacrifice today is always smaller than the suffering of neglect tomorrow. To sacrifice is to accept a controlled discomfort now, rather than be forced into uncontrolled misery later. When you grasp this, sacrifice becomes not a burden but a privilege. It becomes the most intelligent way to shape a tomorrow that will not betray you. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, while the pain of regret weighs tons. What you give up today is never really gone. It is simply being rearranged, matured, and returned to you in the form of your tomorrow. Every sacrifice must be conscious, not accidental. To live without awareness is to let life slip away without realizing the value of what you are giving. Every day, whether you know it or not, you are sacrificing something. Your time, your energy, your attention. These are limited resources, and they are constantly being spent. The question is not whether you are making sacrifices, but whether those sacrifices are chosen with intention or wasted in ignorance. When sacrifice is accidental, it becomes regret. When sacrifice is conscious, it becomes transformation. Think of time as the clearest example. A person may sacrifice hours scrolling through distractions, believing they are simply passing time. Another may sacrifice those same hours in learning, in creating, in building something of value. Both are sacrificing the same resource, time, but one is doing so blindly and the other is doing so with purpose. Years later, their lives look dramatically different, not because of destiny, but because one allowed accidental sacrifice while the other practiced conscious sacrifice. The distinction between the two is the line that separates wasted living from meaningful living. In relationships, this truth becomes even sharper. You may accidentally sacrifice connection by choosing pride over humility, distraction over presence, indifference over effort. Without noticing, you are giving up intimacy, trust, and love. But when you consciously sacrifice your ego to listen, your comfort to support, or your time to nurture the bond, you are building something lasting. The same act, letting go of something, can either be unconscious and destructive or conscious and life-giving. Awareness is the force that decides which direction your sacrifice will take. Every person dreams of a better tomorrow, yet many live in a way that unconsciously sacrifices that very future. They sacrifice health for momentary indulgence. They sacrifice peace for fleeting anger. They sacrifice clarity for the fog of distractions. These are not deliberate choices. They are the result of not seeing the connection between today's actions and tomorrow's reality. Conscious sacrifice is about remembering that every choice is a seed. If you plant weeds unconsciously, they will grow just as strongly as a garden planted deliberately. Awareness is the difference between a garden of weeds and a field of harvest. Conscious sacrifice requires asking questions. What am I giving up, and for what? Is the exchange worthy? If I surrender this time, this energy, this focus, what will it create tomorrow? If the answer is growth, love, wisdom, or strength, then the sacrifice is worthy. If the answer is regret, emptiness, or decay, then the sacrifice is blind. Life becomes powerful when you stop living on automatic, when you no longer allow your sacrifices to be dictated by impulse or habit, but instead align them with the vision of the life you want to create. Discipline is nothing more than conscious sacrifice repeated consistently. To wake up early, to practice when others sleep, to study when others waste time, these are conscious sacrifices. They are not accidents, they are decisions made in clarity. And because they are conscious, they bear fruit. The one who sacrifices unconsciously suffers, the one who sacrifices consciously flourishes. The act may look similar from the outside, but the inner quality is entirely different. One is careless, the other is deliberate. Even in the smallest details, conscious sacrifice matters. Choosing to hold silence instead of speaking in anger is a conscious sacrifice of impulse for peace. Choosing to rest when your body needs it, instead of pushing mindlessly, is a conscious sacrifice of immediate productivity for long-term well-being. Choosing to invest money rather than spend it recklessly is a conscious sacrifice of instant gratification for future security. These small acts accumulate, shaping a tomorrow that reflects the intelligence of today's awareness. Unconscious sacrifice often disguises itself as comfort. It feels easier in the moment to give in, to avoid effort, to indulge impulses. But what is given away unconsciously today returns later as a burden. Conscious sacrifice, on the other hand, often feels demanding in the moment, but it carries within it the seed of freedom. By choosing deliberately what to give, you are not losing. You are investing. You are placing something in the soil of tomorrow with full awareness of what it can become. Every sacrifice must therefore carry the light of intention. Without it, life becomes a series of wasted exchanges, and regret follows. With it, life becomes a path of creation where each sacrifice builds towards something meaningful. It is not the act of giving up that defines you, but the clarity with which you give it. Awareness turns sacrifice from blind loss into purposeful growth, from accident into creation, from regret into fulfillment.